Take a look at these. These are comments and critiques made on NBA superstar Jason Tatum, arguably one of the most hated players in the league today. Personally, I think the hate he gets is unadvised, as he's a great player and father that just so happens to be on a hated team and has a role model, to say the least. However, I get having a least favorite player. In fact, I get having a few. You see, sometimes there's just guys in the NBA they just don't like, whether it's because they torch your favorite team, be an asshole off the court, or you just simply don't like them for whatever reason. Yes, I know this video has been done a few times before, and I know the guys over at Numbers on the Board just did a little segment on this, but that's from Ranker, and the rest are old-time videos, and I'm sorry to break it to you, unks, but I wasn't around for Black and White TV or Ronald Reagan's presidency, so here's my list of the top 10 most disliked players in the NBA today, currently. Also, before I get into this list, I just want to say that this isn't necessarily what I think and what players I don't like. I'm more so inferring the majority of fans' opinions based off all the social media comments and shit I've read throughout the last couple of years. Alright, enough with the yapping and let's get on to the list. Starting off the list, we have a big time Philly favorite, Tobias Harris. This might be a pretty surprising selection to the casual non-Sixer NBA fan, but man, being a guy who watches a lot of Philadelphia basketball and has friends who are a big fan of the team, I can tell you that almost all of Philly hates Tobias Harris.
Tobias Harris is a certified scrub.
Well, that's because this man has been getting paid $36 million a year to constantly shit the bed come playoff time and be recognized as one of the most streaky and inefficient shot chuckers in the league. Take a look at his regular season stats. Pretty good, right? Okay, now look at his playoff numbers. A huge drop-off nearly every year since he arrived in Philly. This man also happens to be the guy that Daryl Morey chose over Jimmy Butler. Yeah, that one clip.
Tobias Harris over me?
I know. So while Harris isn't a bad player by any stretch, he is a majorly overpaid role player that also happens to be kept around over Jimmy Butler, who's went to the finals twice since leaving Philly, and rightfully earns Tobias with the number 10 spot on this list. Coming in at the number 9 spot, we have the glorious king himself, LeBron James. This one shouldn't really be a shocker, to be honest. Yes, LeBron is also probably on the most liked players list as well, but being the face of the league for so long, you're bound to pick up some haters along the way. James first started receiving real hate after his infamous move to Miami and his formation of the Big Three in 2011, in which we all know how Cleveland fans perceived that decision. So now that the fans who loved him and cherished him as a hero completely hated him, he turned into a villain, and a lot of people didn't like his super team route, so the hate started to pick up, until Bron went back to Cleveland in 2014. He gained some traction back, but at this point, the best player in the world had a lot of fans preying on his downfall, and that group of fans piled on as the Warriors and Cavs rivalry ticked off and went on for about 4 years straight. I can tell you personally, all of Dub Nation despised King James, as a player at least. Some NBA fans, and actually just regular non-fans as well, do not like LeBron James because of some of the off-the-court topics he's spoken on in recent years. So in case you didn't know already, your glorious sunshine king,
you are my sunshine,
has a lot of haters. At number 8 we have Kyrie Irving, another guy who's loved and antagonized at the same time. Kyrie's had some major controversies with different franchises, dating back to 2017. Irving, drafted by Cleveland, promised them he would stay forever.
Are you going to leave us like LeBron left us?
It's a great question. No, I won't leave. I'm not leaving.
Until his ego got in the way, and he decided he didn't want to be a Robin to LeBron's Batman anymore, and he went to Boston to be the number 1 guy he always wanted to be. As you can assume, that gained some hostility from some Cav fans and Lamette writers, but no, not too much, until he went to Boston and, well, told them the same thing, but more. He promised Celtic fans he would stay for the rest of his career and hang a banner for them, and well, we know how the end of that story goes. Basically, he lied and joined the Nets after getting caught talking about max contracts with Kevin Durant. He then was in shock after Boston fans booed him and shit, so he resulted into calling them racist, which, don't get me wrong, I don't disagree, but he acts like they hate him for no reason, which is just simply wrong. Then during his Nets tenure, that was also during COVID, he decided not to get vaccinated for his own personal reasons, which means he wasn't allowed to play in cities where the vaccine was mandatory, and this stirred up some big time controversy and a lot of hate and disappointment from Brooklyn fans. Also, his Nike contract literally got cut, so yeah, Martin Luther Irving isn't the most universally loved player in the league. Continuing the theme of Sixer players, we have a tie at number 7 between Joel Embiid and Ben Simmons. I decided to throw both of these guys here at the number 7 spot because I feel like they're pretty much equal in terms of the criticism they get from the fans, and it also happens to be similar hate from similar audiences. Starting off with the process. Well, he gets a lot of critique for multiple different reasons. The biggest reason is his playoff struggles. Time and time again, the Sixers have come up short in the playoffs, and the frontrunner of that reason is due to their superstar MVP candidate, who's outstanding in the regular season, but constantly underperforms come postseason. Which leads to another thing, and that's his MVP case. Being that Embiid is hurt quite often, a lot of fans, especially Jokic fans, think that he shouldn't be the MVP frontrunner, and don't even like that him and Jokic are compared to one another. Also, Embiid has a lot of reasons with all the memes, and crying, and him talking shit, and fake tough guy and everything. There's a lot of reasons that fans don't like Embiid. Benjamin Simmons. Oof. I can make a whole separate video on him, but we don't have the time for that, so I'll sum it up to you as far as why Simmons is not loved by NBA fans. He's always sitting out, he's afraid to shoot a three-pointer, he hasn't improved on his game since his rookie year, and he is a playoff choker. Also, he played Call of Duty the night before his Game 7, which also happened to be his last Sixer game, which also happened to be the same game where he didn't go up for a layup on 6'3" Trae Young. You might be wondering why isn't he higher on the list? Well, I'd make the case that Simmons is more looked down upon by NBA fans as they are always disappointed with him. I don't think a lot of people really dislike or hate him personally like that, just more of a, really Ben, you're hurt again? Really Ben, you're shooting more off-season threes, but you won't shoot in game? Type of thing. Coming in at number 6, we have Patrick Beverley. This isn't really controversial at all, and in fact, Pat Bev might be the first person on this list that isn't just disliked by the fans, but by the players as well. The reason for this being is that Beverley has a notorious history of dirty plays, some that resulted in serious injuries. Pat Bev is one of those guys though, that if he's on your team, you love him, but if he's not, you can't stand him. He's a high energy, scrappy glue guy that'll do all the little things for your team, but he's no superstar. And it's crazy because with the way he talks, you think he would be, but not even close. Beverley has been a solid role player for every team he's played for his career, but not the star he talks himself of being. And overall, I think you could see why Beverley is disliked by the majority of the NBA community. Beginning our top 5, we have the one and only Kevin Durant. Now you might not believe me, but once upon a time, KD was a hero, a guy that every fan loved and adored, the real MVP. Then this happened. There's not too much explaining to be done here. Fans don't like Durant because he joined a team that he blew a 3-1 lead to, and that team already happened to go 73-9. Creating the biggest and greatest super team in NBA history, and really causing the start of the "you need a super team to win" era. OKC fans despise this man, and well, rightfully so. Also, since that move, he has joined 2 other super teams, and that obviously brought more disappointment as well. The reason why KD isn't 1 and at 5 is because the hate kind of died down, and people just don't really care for him anymore. At the number 4 spot, we have Grayson Allen, the league's biggest dirtbag. Earlier, I said that none of these rankings were personal, and all of the hate comes from a basketball standpoint. Well, this guy's an exception. You see, this guy, he would thrive in the 80s. Every Unk's favorite player. And in case you didn't know who Grayson Allen is already, he has been known since college for purposely injuring players with dirty plays. Solid role player, yes, but the man is just an asshole with no sympathy or remorse for what he does. He's like one of those crazy, juiced up old heads at LA Fitness that just show up and have no intentions of playing any real basketball. They just go to foul and hurt people. That's him. It's a shame that he serves no repercussions for what he's done, and hopefully his terrorization amongst the league will never occur again. Coming in at number 3, we have Rudy Gobert.
Rudy Gobert? Has anybody ever heard of this dude?
Rudy. Where do I even begin? Gobert gets clowned on by the fans for a lot of different reasons. The poster child of just pure mockery for NBA fans. For one, he's a 3-time Defensive Player of the Year. Now you may be asking, how is this a bad thing and why did he get hate for that? Well, it's because his defense always gets exposed come playoffs time and time again because he can't guard the perimeter for shit and quite frankly can barely even guard the inside. So fans believe him to be one of the most overrated defenders ever. 2. He made fun of a fatal global pandemic and was blamed for shutting down the entire NBA into lockdown. 3rd, a lot of fans and players just think he's straight up trash. He gets paid $40 million a year and can't shoot from outside of 3 foot, and he could barely even do that. No bag whatsoever, and it's a big detriment come playoff time. And finally, he's just had so many memeable and funny moments. Like, look at all of these. A lot of fans and players don't like nor respect Gobert, and it is kind of sad to a certain extent, but understandable. At number 2, we have Rudy's biggest hater himself, Draymond Green. Another guy where if he's on your team, you love him, and if he's not, you absolutely hate him, which means that 29 team fan bases hate him. And from the rough play, to the trash talk, to his stats, there are so many reasons for fans not to like Draymond, and he knows that. The thing is, Green doesn't care, which is also another problem. Dre has been a huge part of the Warriors dynasty, and without him, it's a fact that they don't win any of those championships. He's their heart and soul, and one of the best defenders this league has ever seen. I mean, just look at 2016 when he got ejected. It cost his team, and it will continue to do so in the future. The primary reason for fans not liking Green is because he's a borderline crash out. I mean, the man is a whole highlight reel of dirty plays. Not only is he annoying physically, but mentally as well, as bro talks more trash than anyone in the NBA, and it's not close. Whether it's on the court, the TNT show, or halftime, this man will go in on anybody he feels like going in on. Dre doesn't hold back, and that also was the reason he drove KD out of Golden State. Another reason why fans don't like him. Also, a lot of fans believe he's sorry and doesn't back up his trash talk. These fans happen to be known as stat-watching casuals. Anyways, Draymond has done some crazy things in his career that has rightfully placed him in this 2 spot. Some honorable mentions, or a few guys who just barely missed the top 10, include Russell Westbrook, Marcus Morris, Chris Paul, James Harden, Jason Tatum, Trae Young, and John Morant. At number 1, the most hated player in the NBA, the one, the only, Dillon Brooks. This should come as no surprise. Basically just a poor man's version of Draymond Green. A mildly dirty player who talks a lot of trash that almost never gets backed up. The difference between Brooks and Draymond is that players actually respect Dre, because he's good, but Brooks just talks the talk. He's a bona fide role player who, up until this year, has been one of the most inefficient players in the NBA and talks so much trash you would think he's an all-star. Brooks is a laughingstock, and the only team and fan base that even liked him, Memphis, let him go because he was a detriment to them. I think it's arguable that last year's Grizzlies backcourt with Dillon and Ja is one of the most hated backcourts in NBA history. The reason why Brooks comes in at number 1 is because he poked the wrong bear. LeBron, Raymond, James. People hate Dillon Brooks because he talks shit to their glorious honey Pookie Bear.
What were you thinking?
I don't care, he's old. You know?
And got absolutely embarrassed. He claimed that Memphis was going to run the West. He dressed up as the Undertaker. He ignored reporters, and he fights every NBA star because he feels he's better than them. There's a reason he earned that cringe-ass nickname, Dillon the Villain. However, I will say, he stayed relatively quiet this year with Houston and has improved his game as well. But the damage is too recent and too soon to be irreversible at the moment, so he rightfully earns his place for the most disliked player in the NBA today.